Hello. So this is Tank Simulation. And I will start running through the code right now. And I was mainly in control of the NPC tank that is running in the actual game. I'm on an earlier release of our app for um, for the presentation, so it will be a bit underdeveloped in a few areas, but still gets the point across for the AI NPC and how it works. So the main thing where I worked on was the actual class NPC tank, which extends the tank, so I don't need to actually create anything new regarding how the tank moves and stuff, how it moves around the track, how it looks and stuff, but that's already imported in from tank. Then we have the floats, target X, target Z to get the basic position of the actual tank, the max speed, the acceleration, just a few things that we need or that we'd like over here. Preferred distance, a minimum distance, a max distance, and a patrol distance. Um, Patrol angle, patrol speed, last fire time and fire rate. I am This doesn't exactly work perfectly right now, and I am in the process of working on this, but I decided I'd add it just to show what we have. Now, public NPC tank, we have all of our floats that are going to be needed that we are going to put into um, float X, float Y. Then we have our terrain and the list for the bullets that the tank is actually going to shoot. We have our public void set target, so we have the float to target X and target Z, just to get the general position of the tank that the NPC is trying to target, to actually follow around and move around. So we get the X and the Y, X and the Z axis coordinates for said player, and using that information, it will run through with the rest of the commands that we have. So we have a getter for speed, so it calls this from the tank class. So we get the speed, super get speed, and the setter. So super, let me set the speed, equal that to a speed that we have right here. And basically the same thing for the turret angle. It's calling it from the tank class, and we have the setter right here. Now for the track player, takes in the player X's X and Z coordinates that we have, and then it calculates the distance from the player by taking in the player's position and taking in our position. So it gets the X and the Z axis. Then it finds out the distance to player using the float, the math square root, the dx times dx plus dz times dz. Then it calculates the angle from the player from the math 2 degrees. Um, then with that, it will point the turret at the player, and try to basically just follow the player, or that turret would actually just follow the player using the player's X and Z coordinates. Then this needs a bit of work from the patrolling, so about the distance to player, but the basic general gist is the distance to player is less than the minimum distance that we set at the start. Then we can say that we are too close to the player, then it will just basically retreat. So you have this float retreat angle, equals angle to the player plus 180. So it sets it to the opposite direction from what the player is. And if the retreat angle is greater than 360, then the retreat angle is less than 360, less than equals 360. Then basically just set a target point behind the NPC tank. That'll be our retreat distance, where we're gonna retreat behind. So that is set to 2.0. I don't want to get too deep into it because it is 11:47 then on Saturday, so I can continue on a bit more on this. But this doesn't generally work how exactly I want it to. So we get the retreat X and the retreat Z. So just basically where we should actually retreat to. Um, and basically just the same thing for here. If that we are too far from the player, we are going to actually approach a player and then have the set target player X and player Z. And at a good distance, patrol around the player. We have patrol. We are able to patrol around the target around their X and Z coordinates. Then, if we are facing the player and the turret is facing the player, then we can try to fire at player. But that is something that is in progress right now. Patrol around the target. I won't get into this too much right here, but I can actually just run through this right here. I think we can have like an actual, this right here, it's actually having problems with how it moves and how it looks. So generally it is supposed to kind of patrol around the player, but kind of it just spazzes out. So I mean, if I move around, it actually moves around kind of right behind me. Um, so being able to try and fire at the player, that is something that is not fully implemented, but that is something that I believe shouldn't take too long and should be kind of easy to do. So if I actually follow after this tank right here, boom, I am inside the tank. Then it just keeps backing up, trying to um, not get touched while being able to have its tank, its barrel aimed directly at me, so it's able to shoot at me if need be. Then if I keep moving towards it, boom, it just backs up like that. So that is the basic general gist, and it starts. Hey, oh, okay, yeah. Patrolling kind of does work around the player, even though it's a bit doesn't look the best. It does actually work, which is surprising from the little testing that I've done. Um, so we're able to point the turret at and takes the target X and Z coordinates as we have before, and basically just calculates the angle that we have from the target X and Z coordinates and our coordinates that we have. In math 2 degrees, takes in DZ and the DX. Then we calculate the difference of the current angle and the target angle. So the tank angle equals to get angle. And that relative angle that we have is equal to where the angle of the target and minus our angle that the NPC tank is going to be in. And then it takes in that difference and normalizes it with a greater than 180, less than 180, and a plus and negative 360. Sets the turret up to master relative angle. Then kind of adjust the barrel based on that. Calculate elevation for distance. So we have just this formula that I need for elevation. So float elevation. This just sets it equal to 5. Hold up. Elevation for distance. So basically, if the distance is less than 8.0, the elevation is equal to 0.0. So uh, for a close target, kind of basically almost flat, and for a distance of less than 15, we set the elevation to 5, so a slight elevation for medium distance. So basically, just on how far we actually are from the actual player, it will the set the angle of the barrel for what the elevation that should actually be for us. So more elevation for the longer distance. How much implementation? How much does that actually work? Kind of not a lot. It just makes it look cool. Makes it look nice. Then generally, this will attempt to fire at the player. So we have our try fire at player that we have right here. The tank, player, tank. Then we check if we are facing the player right here. Then if we are facing the player and we are in a certain angle that we have over here, so in our angle that angle diff is less than 10, then we will finally fire the bullet. Then our public void update that we have, what time is it? 51. That we have over here. Move towards the target position, float DZ equals target Z, target X minus get Z. So basically, this is just how it'll always be. So this is our DZ and DX that we've been calling in our previous functions. This is the update, which we will update as we run through the actual program. This is a system print to make sure for actually debugging to get all these stuff, get the current position of where everything is at. Now, if distance is greater than 0.5, then we can tell that our target, we are not already at our target, then we need to actually start moving towards our target and to actually start looking at that target that we have right now. Once the NPC tank actually starts looking at the target, then finally we can actually start moving towards that said target, which I have over here. Move forward if facing the target. If we're angle difference is less than 60, we will accelerate toward them. But if it's greater than 120, we will decelerate and move backward if facing away from the target. Basically, just as that. Then we will stop if we get close to the target. If not, the ABS get speed is greater than 0.01. And if the get speed is greater than 0, we will decelerate. Just basically saying if we are close enough to said target, we will actually keep moving into the target and start spazzing out in the middle of the target if it comes down to it. But if we start moving farther and farther away from said target, we will actually accelerate towards the target. And that is basically the gist of what I have worked on. I hope you enjoyed. Thank you.